Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. It is, I don't even know what today it is. It is a Wednesday. I've been gone for about a week. I just got back from a road trip. I drove all the way across the country through the middle half of the United States and then all the way down across the bottom southern half because I went to go pick up a friend to help them move back from Florida. So that was actually kind of fun. It was a really quick turnaround trip. We didn't really have time to do much more than, you know, pop into Missouri and say hi to my mom for like 2 hours, get some lunch, and then, you know, we stopped at like the, Florida Caverns or something in a little bit northern Florida. But past that, it was really just a get out there, turn around trip, and head back. But I experienced something new for the first time that us Southwesterners don't get to experience, at least in Arizona. Went to a freaking Buc-ee's. Actually, we went to 4 of them because that place is amazing. Like, if you've never been to a Buc-ee's, if you're like a Pacific Northwesterner or, you know, a Northeasterner or, you know, Midwesterner, I don't know where Buc-ee's are, but I know they ain't here. But if you have never been to a Buc-ee's, it is basically like the Costco of gas stations. They have literally anything and everything. I mean, we got there, the first one was in the middle of Georgia, and it was like almost 2 in the morning. They were still serving up fresh brisket, and it was actually cheap. It was like $5 for a brisket sandwich, and it was really, really good. So yeah, anyway, now that we're back, I've been kind of like slacking on making videos, and part of that is because I've just been heavily unmotivated. I've been just overwhelmed with life in general. Like, the shop takes a lot out of you, and then also not having much to film because my car has been damaged. Turns out the damage is worse than I thought from that hit back in February, and then some of the work that I just am doing, I don't bother to film it. But yeah, protein shake time, just got back from the gym. We are heading to the shop today. Yeah, I have a roll cage to finish up that we will give you a sneak peek at. Nothing super crazy, but past that, we'll talk about what's going on with the car, and yeah, hopefully have a good day, get you some content. Just kind of tag along with me for the day. I just wanted to say I'm stoked. Got the Buc-ee's t-shirt and a lot of other stuff. Jerky, brisket, mince, everything. Alex got a whole Buc-ee's swimsuit setup going. So yeah, anyway, my dog is tisming out on the floor over here because he's trying to itch his ear. But yeah, we'll see you at the shop. We're here at the shop. Got this 3000 GT, which is kind of a quirky little unique car. We don't see these around. This is the first one I've actually got to service. This one, we're just building the roll cage. So far, I'm 90% done at this rate. I apologize if there's wind noise. The swamp cooler is on, and I got the mic facing me. So yeah, just doing a 4-point with single diagonal door bars. This is essentially, should be good to pass for going down the quarter mile. It's not an extremely fast car, so he doesn't need to, you know, he's not running 10s. And then he wants to be able to hit the occasional autocross or road race. So it should conform to kind of like the gray area in both rule books. But yeah, all that's left on this is I have to make a driver support bar, the diagonal, and then the harness bar, and that'll finish this up. I already dropped it and welded it. I thought about making more content on this thing, but honestly, just the time spent isn't worth it. And my, you know, viewer base isn't exactly 3000 GT owners, but I know some of you guys appreciate just seeing some of the process and some of the work. So we will be finishing this up today. And then just the budget on here, he didn't need much, so we didn't do anything too crazy. We did get this thing tucked in super tight though. I'm very happy with that. Tucking everywhere. Got the single diagonal back here. So we're looking good, but I just want to show you guys, this is not by any means to call out the owner or, you know, judge his quality of work. I just want to make it clear for anybody that's interested in trying to do something themselves. Make sure you have the appropriate tooling. Now, you can build a roll cage solely with a MIG welder, an angle grinder, and, you know, a sawzall. But it is helpful having a bandsaw, a tiny vertical bandsaw, a tube notcher. But by all means, you can do it with just angle grinders and stuff. But knowing how it all works. So the cage that was in here before was one of those Summit Racing or Rhodes 4-point door bar type things. Right off the rip, this is extremely unsafe. So these plates are extremely cold welded, and these are attached to a sheet metal section that kind of just ties in the shock towers. That's not at all where it's supposed to go. I know drag racing regulations have a little bit different. Oftentimes I see them coming back, but they usually flat mount to the trunk pan. So, and then obviously only having a couple tack welds holding this thing up, just incredibly unsafe. I don't like the sharp edges. I round all my edges if there's anything exposed, such as this. I like to do sill mounted boxes, whereas before the gentleman just was working with what he had, but we got the plates up here that you can see are only kind of tack welded in 2 spots that I can literally rip this off by hand. So Lord forbid he ever had to use this as an anti-intrusion. passenger and driver would have been incredibly penetrated by that pipe or that tube. So just make sure that when you're doing stuff like this, again, if you don't trust yourself and you don't have the knowledge or the skills, I'm all for learning, because that's how I got to this point as well. But I learned on my own car, and I just did a lot of research. And just be safe. You know, like these floor boxes or plates for the main hoop, again, partially welded in, so Lord forbid this thing ever went upside down and had to use it. These would have just ripped straight from the chassis. Again, not trying to give any flack to the owner. I just wanted to show you guys so you have a better understanding of what to not do. The owner already acknowledged his doings or whatever, so that's why we're in here fixing it correctly. But that's all good. Now into my car really quick, show you what's going on with this thing really fast. So if you guys remember back in February at the Slush Motorsports Festival, we got side impacted by that Corvette driver, Jesse Woogie. Went through that whole ordeal with the body shop, got the overs on there, did all that. Something I didn't really notice at the time, and I've been trying to dig through some photos since then of the car. The old trailing arm, I don't know why it made such a difference, but the old trailing arm, I had alignment issues. The car was always kind of pulling to the left a little bit, but I didn't get an alignment until right before Easter, so I kind of just assumed, you know, it was just alignment. I never really noticed that the back wheel on the driver's side was actually pulled forward, indicating, you know, caster problems, and I never put two and two together that the floor being buckled and the roll cage being shifted a little bit was tied in. So essentially, as I understand it, these cars have like an inner skin and an outer skin, and the toe bucket, which is like the main attachment point for the trailing arm in the rear of these cars, is part of the inner skin, and I didn't notice it before. I was looking for cracks and broken seam seal around the toe bucket itself and not the surrounding areas, but I found when I just swapped out this trailing arm last week, my buddy was here helping me, and we noticed immediately the wheel was really far forward. He looked a little bit closer and realized the inner skin had separated from the outer skin, so essentially the toe bucket has now shifted forward quite a bit. The issue is obviously alignment. I don't care that it pulls one way, you know, I can drive through it. The issue is that the tire is scrubbing while going down the road now in a straight line under suspension compression. I don't know how well you can see it. Try and block the light here. Yeah, light's kind of hitting it, but you can see the edge of the tire being worn right here like that. That's just from going to the end of the street and back. So definitely not ideal. If you can kind of see from the side here, it's way pushed forward that way. And give you a comparison to the other side here. Nice and centered. So it's a huge bummer. Few different things that I can think of to go about and fix it, other than reshelling, which has been also on my mind. But I did bring a come along. I'm going to try and either use the come along to pull this back. The issue that I'm running into is more just impatience than anything. There's a big drift event called Bahoku coming up in like 2 weeks, and I want to drive it. So my options in the short term are I'm waiting on a response from a buddy with a frame rack at his work to see if I can pay to use it, try the come along and attach it to the truck or something and see if we can pull it back any amount, or extend the trailing arm, which I kind of don't really want to do, because that means if I reshell or if I fix this later, then I have to get another new arm and swap that all out, and just kind of seems almost like more work. So I'm going to try the come along first since I have it available, and yeah, sort that out. Other than that, I mean, the car is good. It's just I can't really drift or drive it with the wheel that close to the fender arch. So buy a drift car, they said, and go drifting. Yeah. Kind of depressing, kind of heartbreaking. I know that's the name of the sport, but when it's not even your fault, that's what makes it more frustrating. But whatever, we'll get to that when we get to that. Let's get to work. Let's finish up this cage. Well, it's not really a cage, it's a roll bar, politically correct. So let's finish this thing up, get a harness bar and a diagonal bar put in, and get this thing back to the owner. All right, I know the lighting in here is kind of crappy because of the contrast from outside, but it is bright out, so I apologize. Working on the diagonal bar here. So technically we're supposed to go within, well, drift regulation is within 6 inches of the center of the main hoop bend up here. Road race and drag, I think drag is honestly within 12. Drag racing regulations are extremely, what is it? Not opposite of strict, I can't think of the word right now. Lenient. So yeah, I go by drift regulations on a lot of this, and ideally my rule of thumb is I try to connect tubes together to make one solid structure. Now in this case, just doing a diagonal, there's not really a mean step, but I mean more when doing like down bars in the rear and following in line with A pillars if possible. I don't like to offset them. I like to try and have them as close to being in line because that's the strongest way. But in this case, just doing a diagonal, bunching up tubes, not only does it look really cool when you get it all nice and tightly fit and welded together, but it's also obviously more structurally sound, triangulation. So we are going to aim for right around, you know, the corner of tucking it in there. Not that you can really see that with the lighting, but take my word for it. But yeah, really easy. Just kind of measure, give yourself a little extra slack. So in this case, bottom corner to top, we need basically 52 inches. So let's go cut a piece. There we go. Got this one all tacked in nice. Cope is nice and tight. This is good. Now, something that I always goof up, and I felt like I could share with you guys. So there's two different planes that you can measure off of, or that you will have to measure off of. So I usually go off of eyesight. That's what you saw me making those reference marks for. But the issue is sometimes when I try to calculate it, like I have this digital angle finder here. So we'll set this up here, and you see it's, you know, basically zeroed out. And then when I put it on here, we're basically 35 degrees. Now that would make you assume that you put the notcher at 35 degrees, which would be correct, but only for the side coming off of 90, which it's weird. I still don't understand which plane. That's why I get so confused. But essentially this would be the 90-degree plane. So this would be the 35-degree notch. This is the one that I marked first and notched first, but it actually was way off. So this one ended up being a 55-degree notch because there's obviously 90 degrees total. 90 minus 35 would be 55. So 35 there, 55 there. Confusing, I know, but just you know, if you're ever doing this yourself, kind of keep track of which plane it is and triple check your measurements. Thankfully I again cut this tube long, so I had the space to flip it around and, you know, acknowledge that this one fit better down here and then redo the notch up there. It's all math, which I failed, so that's why I have to handiwork a lot of this. But this is good. Now I'm going to just test fit the bucket seat back in. He's got this OMP over here, and then I like to just go off the shoulder height of that, because you're only allowed in most racing organizations, I think it's about 20 degrees plus or minus. So I just kind of set it mine level with the shoulder straps on the harness. So yep, it'll be two pieces. It'll have a piece across here and then a piece across here. Those ones are pretty straightforward. It's almost always like a 90 or like a 0 degree to like within usually, you know, 8 or 10 degrees. It's usually ends up falling somewhere in the middle here. And then just trimming around the welds already here. You don't want to overlap joints without welding the underside first, because technically if this ever needed to go get started and they found through x-ray that welds on overlapping joints like that weren't welded, that would fail. Cages are one of those things where there's so much detail that goes into it. They're incredibly fun at times, incredibly difficult, but also you just got to be paying attention to what you're doing and study the rule books. So in this case, again, because this is just such a laxed car that's kind of just going to do a little of this, little of that, there's not really one specific set of rules we can go off of, so he'll be good to kind of just cruise around and do a little of this and that. Dude, I am sweating so bad. It feels like the freaking Midwest in the desert. It rained last night and it's already summer. Miserable. Miserable, miserable. All right, let's finish this. my gosh. That wraps up the cage. We just gotta weld these last couple joints out and we're done. Just want to show you guys really quick. So he still has the headliner in here, so something that I do just to help prevent cooking it is I just take, like, this is just some aluminum, and I just shove it up there. Acts as a heat barrier. But yeah, no, we're good. We're within, you know, a degree, or within a fifth of a degree on each side. Looking pretty level. I mean, this side looks like it's just a teensy smidgen higher, so, but it's hard to tell. Yeah, I may just trim this notch just a smidgen more, but yeah, let's go ahead, weld this out here in a moment, wrap it up. All right, so that took us about 3 hours, I think, to finish up those last 3 bars, but we're done. Let's take a look at it. Here we are, got the badge here. Figured that was the most decent spot. I mean, just kind of right when you open the door, it's bam, right there. Oh, tuck the weather stripping back in. But yeah, no, we're looking pretty decent, and the time, you know, we're definitely getting more proficient at doing this stuff, but yeah, we're looking good. Again, I apologize for the lighting being kind of dark, but let me squeeze around back here really quick. A little bit better lighting back here. She's nice and tucked, triangulated. I'm pretty stoked overall. I hope the owner really likes it too. This car is gonna be pretty cool when it's done. I do like these. They're so quirky. I mean, like, I personally, I don't know if I would own one because I'm not much for a front wheel drive person, and I know they have the all-wheel drive models, but I don't really do anything anymore that would require an all-wheel drive platform. But I do respect these cars. They're pretty neat, a little bulbous, a little on the heavy side, but cool nonetheless. But yeah, you can see he's already got stuff working to get everything put back together. I didn't mention the reason the car actually looks like this is it caught fire. So this gentleman, he actually found me at the Slush Motorsports Festival, or Import Face-Off, back in February, and inquired about a roll bar. And so told him, you know, cut yours out, save yourself some money. We can build you this, give him some options. We ended up choosing this one. But shortly after that, I guess he was doing some test and tuning, and a fuel line burst and the car caught fire. So that's why the car looks the way it does. So he's in the process of rebuilding it. So kind of sort of worked out in a sadistic way that I was able to get the car sooner, I think, because of the fire damage. But other than that, yeah, car's done. I'm pretty stoked on it. I think he'll be stoked on it too. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing sorted. I don't know, I gotta text him really quick, see when he wants to pick this Johnny up. And yeah, we'll get you situated. And then next clip, expect to see me trying to figure out what to do with my car. So I cannot figure this thing out. I pulled the rear bumper off because I was going to try and use the come along and see if I could make anything work with that. But there's nowhere to grab it, which is a huge issue. So I started, you know, Jeff popped over, he started measuring stuff. Everything on this side, which is obviously the damaged side, the control arm, the shock, the coil spring, everything is still vertical, like it's where it's supposed to be. But then when you measure like rough center, because I don't have string and stuff, but using like plates and whatever, rough center to rough center, it's like this side is 3/8 of an inch shorter roughly than the other side, which I know a 1/2 inch is a lot, but it's also, or, you know, 3/8 is and isn't a lot in a scenario like this. But I genuinely do not know what to do. I posted on a drift page, a lot of people are just like, oh, just pull it, but I don't have access to a frame machine, and the come along isn't. I'm firmly believing it's not going to have enough torque or pulling strength to do anything, and there's nowhere for me to actually wrap around to do it without like damaging, you know, a wheel bearing or ripping the control arm or bending it or nothing. So I kind of at a loss. I'm extremely discouraged. So I think what I'm gonna have to just resort to doing is just extending the trailing arm and working with that for now, and then I'm gonna have to pick up a spare shell and start building that on the side, unfortunately, because the only other options are either get on a frame rack and see how far out it is, if technically the body is, which I believe it is, or, which again I don't have access to, or the money for a frame rack, because the one quote I got was over $1,000, or put in a new tow bucket. But if I don't know about that. Plus getting one, that's, you know, coming from Poland, who knows how long it'll take to get one, and then yeah, extending the trailing arm. So I don't know. I think we will just have to end this video out here. In the next video, I think I'm just going to go with the trailing arm extension. Trailing arms are easier to find than shells at this rate, so it's a cheaper option. If if for some reason it doesn't work, I'd be out a wheel bearing. Thankfully, these bushings are brand new. I can press them back out, but even then, the bushings are like 30 bucks a piece. It's not, you know, going to break the bank. So I just don't know. Buy a drift car, they said. Yeah, anyways guys, thanks for spending some time out of your day here with me. I hope we can figure this out together. If anybody else has any ideas, I'm all ears, but yeah, without having deep pockets or good connections, which I have neither at the moment, kind of SOL. So I do have access to a sedan shell, which I'm not opposed to by any means, because this chassis is getting kind of beat up from my wall hits and stuff. And now that I've learned a lot on the chassis, I wouldn't be opposed to it. So I hate to just throw this thing away like that. So I don't know, whatever. Back burner stuff. Let's extend the arm in the next video. That's the best options I got right now. So anyways, do what you love, forget the rest. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.